The story begins inside the Grand Hall of Taishin's sacred land. Yichin, an inner disciple of a sect, arguing with his elders, angered because they are betrothing Miss Su, the holy maiden, to someone whom she has never even met before. Many people stood inside and listened to the angry roars of the young disciple. The people inside the Grand Hall are displeased with his action and wondering if Yichin has gone crazy, and how does he have the audacity to say such things in the Grand Hall. The Taishin archbishop spoke up to Yichin, saying that he remembers him. Only after years of struggle were Yichin able to enter the Taishin sacred land, and asks why now he is telling him that he wants to give up his title as an inner disciple. The archbishop releases a powerful aura to suppress Yichin's being, and cold sweat dripped down his forehead. Yichin answers that he was merely feeling a sense of injustice for the saintess, and he can't just watch as she helplessly gets thrown into the fiery pits of hell. While this happened, Master Gu is sipping his tea and couldn't be bothered by the drama, because he just got transgressed to this world and fused into a body of a villain, infusing their memories. Just like in a usual comics, he'd be the type of villain who's just a stepping stone for the protagonist and gets constantly face-slapped and humiliated by them. The only difference between him and the other is that he has a mysterious game-like system. According to the system, the fortune levels are divided from low to high. Start at red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and purple. An ordinary person is only at the red fortune value, and the young man Yichen's fortune value is green, and he is revealed to be the fortune's chosen, a main character of this world. And while Guchanga's fortune is black, a constant reminder of him that he is a villain, and won't live that long. Yichin tries to provoke Guchanga, and shouts at him, but that didn't go as he planned. Yichin sensed the situation had developed against him. Because of his actions, the people around him turned against him, and he thinks to himself, why are they siding with Master Gu? But he didn't know that his status is not anywhere near as his opponent. Even the Holy Maiden is not speaking up for him, even though they have a close relationship with each other. Seeing the fortunes chosen being humiliated satisfies Master Gu. Yechan tries for the second time to provoke Master Gu by yelling something useless. The archbishop was about getting irritated of Yichen's actions before he could say anything. The sacred prince took the initiative and stepped up to take Yichin down to make amends to Guchanga. And the prince challenged Yichin, in which Yichin gladly accepts. While the bystanders are stating that Yichin is naive and was biting off more than he could chew, because the sacred prince is stronger than Yichin in regards to their cultivation. Meanwhile, Master Gu is thinking to himself that if Yichin can't even win a simple cross-realm battle, he wouldn't be worthy the title Fortune's Chosen. And at once their fist clash, but the sacred prince was knocked back in revealing the Yichin to be stronger, as Yichin stood surrounding himself with a fiery aura and a confidence in his eyes, and mocks the sacred prince's skill. Countless female disciples were flabbergasted and many were stupefied, and the disciples and elders present were dumbfounded, and even the dull-looking archbishop was petrified, as it was completely out of their prediction. But of course, Master Gu was unaffected by the surprise. After all, Master Gu is well versed with a story like this because he came from another world, and knows that Yichin was the protagonist of this world. His ability to humiliate and face-slap is at the highest level. Looking directly at the woman beside him, with a yellow fortune value of 350, should be named Suchinga, the female lead of this world. Master Gu had a grin on his face because of what he's about to do next. Slowly, he took a sip of a tea and in a relaxed manner, he asks the Holy Maiden if she was always been this confident in Yichin, and if the Holy Maiden's reason that she tries so hard to remain calm to let him think that there's nothing between her and Yichin, out of fear that he might kill Yichin. Master Gu lets out a small praise, saying that she's a wise woman, as he saw through her effortlessly. Master Gu took a glimpse at his teacup and faintly blurted that it's empty. In response, Miss Su glanced at him before quietly picking up the teapot to refill his cup. The woman's hand that was holding the teapot shook lightly. Then Master Gu holds Miss Su's hand to calm her and asks to not be afraid of him cause he's neither a wolf nor a tiger. Master Gu lifted her arms near his lips and say to Miss Su that the tea is hot, so she should leave this to the servants. It'd be a pity if she injured her hand. After this, a system interface popped up notifying Master Gu that Miss Su has had a subtle change of heart, and protagonist Yichen's fortune value deducted by 10. Master Gu was stunned and surprised he can do that. Master Gu then grins menacingly as it seems that things have started to become interesting. As this happened, Yichin saw all of it, and cursing at Master Gu, shouting how dare he touch Miss Su. The sacred prince reminds Yichin that they're not finished fighting. Yichin warns the sacred prince if he really think that he wouldn't dare kill him just because he's the sacred prince. While Master Gu's is in thought, being well versed with all the possible scenario, he knows Yichin can defeat the sacred prince, and take this opportunity to challenge him to make a bet or something. With his cultivation talent, after a few years he might come back to find him the avenge today's shame. So Master Gu refused to leave his life in the hands of some shitty script. Nonetheless, at that moment, Master Gu cut and says of how boring it is. Just by a couple words, Yi-Chin was left stunned as if he was out of his mind. Master Gu says that since the matter pertains to him, he shan't bother Sacred Prince with it. Yi-Chin asks loudly if Master Gu's putting on airs, and screaming he's not afraid of him. Master Gu lightly asks if Yi-Chen's fearlessness comes from ignorance, as he unleashed his glare. The next moment, a spine-chilling, suppressive aura so overwhelming that it could shred the sky and fissure the lands ferociously gushed in the palace. Yi-Chin tried to endure it and tried to mock Master Gu again. Master Gu takes it as a challenge, so he enhanced his attacks out nowhere. The wind violently swirled in the palace while runes lit up as spiritual energy surged everywhere. Everyone watching was intuitively horrified by the event, and that included many elders who were dazed and quivering. As the receiver of the attack, Yi-Chin was clearly affected, followed by the blanching of his face. Immediately, his legs grew weary and his entire body collapsed to the ground before his head struck the floor as he struggled. He was thoroughly vanquished. Master Gu then asked Yi-Chin if that's how he wants him to respond to his words. Even the Archbishop thinks to himself that Master Gu is already so strong at such a young age, and that they really can't afford to offend him. As Yi-Chin raised his head, only to meet the condescending eyes of Master Gu, with his own filled with disbelief and reluctance. While this happened, a system interface appeared in front of him again. States by defeating the fortunes chosen in public, Yi-Chin will lose 10 points, and his fate value will be increased by 50. Since the fate value can increase the skill level points, the cultivation level will increase as well. At that moment, Master Gu called out in his heart, allowing himself to view the system interface. Master Gu asked the system, what happens if he kills off Yi-Chin right now? The system answered the user is advised against doing so due to current luck value, or negative luck value may occur. The system clarifies that he has sufficient strength to kill Yi-Chin, but it will result in more misfortune and triggering a series of unknown variables. Because he is the biggest variable yet, it seems he'll have to take time to kill the fortune's chosen one while gradually diminishing his fortuity to the lowest. With the simplest analogy, if Master Gu were to kill Yi-Chin off right now, a lightning bolt would instantly be cast from the skies upon him. And also those having close relationship with the fortune's chosen are the same. This means trying to affect Yi-Chin by forcing Miss Su won't work. The Archbishop laughs and praises Master Gu for having such a strong cultivation base at such a young age. Other elders follows and praised him as well. The Sacred Prince also apologized for his lack of skill, and insults Yi-Chin. Hearing all this, it strikes a nerve on Yi-Chin, so he launched a surprise attack on Master Gu. That was blocked effortlessly by Master Gu, and throw Yi-Chin to a pillar, instantly defeating him, leaves Miss Su by surprise. This action leaves a bad reputation around Yi-Chin. Not only he completely ignored the sect rules, he also tries a surprise attack, and also disrespected their distinguished guest over and over again. And so the elders decided to block Yi-Chin's cultivation base, and was sent to a prison, to wait for his execution. Then Master Gu goes to Miss Su, and asked if she would be so kind as to bless him with her beauty, to witness the beautiful moon tonight. Meanwhile, the Archbishop was ecstatic of what he heard, and praised Master Gu having this much riz. The Archbishop used his telepathy to communicate to his daughter and remind his daughter their fortune lies on Master Gu, and advise her not be confused. Miss Su, answering with a resounding all right. In that instant, Yi-Chen's body froze as his eyes grew icier, this cause Yi-Chen's heart state damaged. Yi-Chen, overwhelmed by the immense humiliation, spewed blood before passing out. With that, the system popped a notification, and his luck points was reduced by 100, while Master Gu receives 500 fate values. Master Gu was surprised and realized how this system works, and this fortune's chosen one is nothing but a crop for his system. And although this process is a little troublesome for Master Gu, it will slowly drag the fortune's chosen to death, and it's quite fun for him. On a later time, an elderly man in black with a concealed face standing at the top of a roof eavesdropping on the Holy Maiden and Archbishop conversing about their current situation. In a change of scene late at night, in the chamber where Master Gu rested, the elderly man in black with a concealed face appeared out of thin air. Master Gu, sitting upright on his bed, asks, how's the investigation advancing? Ming Lao, the elderly man in black, answers that it is indeed as Master Gu anticipated. There was a reason why the Archbishop decided to send his daughter away, that the Holy Land's mightiest warrior had died 300 years ago, but the information was never disclosed to the outside world. As such, Supreme Taishan Sacred Land is in urgent need of new support. Furthermore, the Archbishop's wife, a noblewoman from the upper realm, was captured back to the upper realm. Thus, the Archbishop wishes to use the Holy Maiden Miss Su to strike up a relationship with Master Gu in order to search for his wife's whereabouts. Master Gu grinned as his guess was correct yet again. He was contemplating that Miss Su, as the female protagonist, must have a complex background, which was why he got the elderly man in black to dig up information about her. After Master Gu received the information, he commands Ming Lao to take a look at Yi Chen, who is being locked up in the underground jail. Ming Lao asked his young master on why he seemed to have taken interest in Yi Chen. Master Gu serenely answers that Yi Chen possesses a great deal of luck, which he can meet his destiny with. Ming Lao nodded his head in realization and responded that he understood, before slowly fading into the winds. Shortly after, he summoned his system and a virtual interface appeared before him, the system congratulating him on completing the first face slapping of the day, and he have successfully passed the beginner phase. Master Gu have obtained a beginner's gift. He decided to retrieve the beginner's gift, gaining Domain 1 Breaking Talisman, 1 5-colored robe, 1/3 of a broken world seed. Although he was carrying misfortune with him, it seemed to have no effect on the system. Furthermore, the 3 gifts he obtained seemed to be pretty useful as well. Firstly, the Domain Breaking Talisman. As its name suggested, it could tear down the barrier between 2 domains, allowing the user to travel between them. Secondly, the 5-colored robe was a defensive magic tool. Upon reading its introduction, Master Gu found it to be extremely handy as it could deflect 1 fully charged attack from an assaulter of partial enlightened realm. In the last item, Master Gu's eyes glistened with amazement, looking at the broken world seed. After a complete world seed has been refined, it can be used to nurture a part of the world in one's body, creating endless good luck, and creating one's own life and death. And Master Gu thinks if he collects all the world seeds, surely no one between heaven and earth can kill him. Then Master Gu commanded the system to use fate value to enhance his power level. Master Gu's thoughts were rather simple as he had a tremendous sum of 550 fate values at his disposal, and he eventually broke through to level 7 of Skyward Ascension. A blaring thunder gushed into the palace, along with an intimidating aura that filled every space as dead silence surrounded the palace. Meanwhile, a couple of guards on patrol were thoroughly spooked. Even the Archbishop reacted to it, and even the Holy Maiden was shocked as she looks up the sky. And at that moment, we can see her other souls is conversing to her, and says to her that Master Gu is more interesting than Yi Chen, and that she and Miss Su both know this. Holy Maiden scoffed and told her second soul to shut up. We are brought back to Master Gu. Founds himself no longer grinning. Although breakthrough was a good thing, the downside was that to achieve that, 550 fatums were exhausted in the blink of an eye. But also there's still the existence of the system anyways, and he'll still have fate values in the future. And laugh while making fun of Yi Chen, comparing him to a crop awaiting to be harvested, and hopes Yi Chen can donate more fate values. If Yi Chen get cut clean by him too early, that'll only mean Yi Chen death date is here. In a change of scene, in the murky prison of Taishien's sacred land, where damp atmosphere and nauseating odor from rotting corpses wafted, Yi Chen was sitting still. His eyes were unspirited, and there was even sorrow underneath them. His powers were sealed and he was constricted with handcuffs. Even until now, he had yet to recover from the immense shame in his entire life, except for the disgrace his former fiancée caused him 3 years ago. He had never been hammered with such harsh humiliation. Whatever hardship it was, he had always gotten himself through it, turning adversaries into serenity. Today, nevertheless, the situation changed. As he felt powerless, he punched a wall, cursing at Master Gu. A sweet voice then calls to him from the ring that he is wearing. Later, a figure of a beautiful and well-developed woman appeared from the ring. As Yi Chen was dazed, anger and disdain surged in his face. Asks Yan Ji on where was she, and why didn't she come out and help him? With a trace of bitterness in her face, Yan Ji responded earlier. There was an overbearing being whose aura enclosed the palace, and she suspects the being is related to the evil force involved to her downfall, so she didn't dare to show herself. She then asks Yi Chen not be reckless, but that wasn't what Yi Chen wanted to hear, and shouts angrily at Yan Ji, asking her if she want him to give up on Miss Su too. Then Yan Ji warns Yi Chen that Master Gu has powerful guardians lurking behind him, and they can't fight him head-on. Yi Chen disregarded Yan Ji's warning and blamed his luck on why he lost. Yan Ji is seeing Yi Chen be so agitated. She revealed a frown as she sighed in her heart. In her eyes, Yi Chen's mind had yet to mature given how he was willing to defy someone he shouldn't have for the sake of a woman. As they were conversating, Yi Chen thought of an idea. His master was dumbfounded. Yi Chen suddenly explains, and asks his master to spread the news that the Supreme Elder Su was dead 300 years ago, so that the other sects could seize the Taishian sacred land as a group, and so he could run away in the midst of the chaos. His master reminded him that the Taishan Holy Land may be destroyed, and in any case they have been looking after him for many years. But Yichen just shouted at her that he doesn't care, saying they were the ones being unkind to him first, and he simply wants them to understand the consequences of offending him. As they were discreetly conversating, it revealed that Ming Lao was spying on them. Although Yen Ji was once a mighty figure in the past, she was now only a cursed spirit, so she wouldn't be able to sense him, and we are brought to a scene outside Master Gu room, where the disciples are fixing it. Near his room Master Gu can be seen with Miss Su, and they are having a conversation about the upper realm. Then Master Gu asks Miss Su if she wants to go there and see for herself. Miss Su answers that Master Gu must be joking. Without the strength of a quasi-god, the barrier can't be broken. Nowadays, how could anybody be able to reach the upper realms? Cause even the most powerful cultivators of all the sacred lands in the eastern wilderness are only at the pseudo-sacred emperor realm. Then Master Gu asks if being at the quasi-god realm really that powerful to her, and says that once she's in the upper realms, she'll realize just how insignificant the quasi-god realm is. Miss Su asks Master Gu if they were in the upper realms, would he be able to protect her? Master Gu was intrigued by the question, asks what does she meant by that. Miss Su answers that she knows that it may be difficult for her to please him with my current status, but she is willing to serve him for the rest of her life. All of a sudden, the system alerted, which left Master Gu stunned, and it states that Miss Su's temperament towards Master Gu has changed, and Yi Chen's fortune value was decreased by 40. The host's fate value increased by 200. Master Gu was caught by surprise, and thought to himself, if the development route of a character related to the fortunes chosen changes, his fortune value would decrease in exchange for an increase in his fate value? If so, things would become much easier for him, which then he smiled. To go back to the conversation, Master Gu then he replied to Miss Su and asks why she wants to please him, and states that it seems like Saintishchinga's attitude sure does change quickly, and is she sacrificing herself so that he release Yi Chen? Master Gu's remark surprises Miss Su and answers in panic that she wouldn't dare do such a thing, and she knows that her looks are unworthy of young Master's profound eyes. Everything she is doing is merely to express her sincerity in hopes that young Master won't take what happened earlier today at the Great Hall to heart. Master Gu then provoke her if that how she repays Yi Chen's infatuation by betraying him. And Miss Su answers that she is incapable of resolving Yi Chen's mistakes. For the sake of her father and the sect, nothing else is more important. As usual, Master Gu remained unaffected by her words, uttering not a word. Miss Su continues, and revealed, her bodily constitution is of the 9 mystic beauty physique, and no one else knows about this. At that moment, the system, once again alerted, stating that Miss Su has begun to show a slight intent of submission. Yi Chen's fortune value decreased by 40, the host's fate value increased by 200. The revelation left him stupefied, because the 9 mystic beauty physique is excellent for refining. However, very soon, he acknowledged her intention. Never had Master Gu expected the process of subduing Miss Su to be so effortless. Consequently, Yi Chen's luck value had dropped to less than 400. In that instant, Master Gu couldn't help but admire the damsel, solely for her gut, of course, and not drooling over her, and also laugh at the circumstances that he can exploit others, reap the benefits, and enjoy hanging out with such a pretty lady all at the same time. Being a villain sure is sweet. However, Master Gu's sternness was too overbearing. He would sometimes appear emotionless as if he could see through everything. Master Gu's voice remained calm as he spoke, making it difficult for anyone to read his emotions. Then Master Gu asks why she told him that easily. Miss Su answers as her hands were trembling that her family's sect was built upon the painstaking efforts of her ancestors for thousands of years. The value of her life pales in comparison. Lowering her head blushing red, Miss Su muttered shyly, as long as young Master Gu can save Taishan's sacred land from its demise, she is willing to offer herself to him. After hearing this with a devious look, Master Gu asks the system that since she willingly offered herself to him, eating her wouldn't result in any backlash of fortune. The system answers due to the current fortune of Miss Su and Yi Chen, receiving the backlash of fortune is highly likely if you proceed any further. It made Master Gu irritated, and thinking he knew that nothing would come so easily. Master Gu asks her again isn't she afraid that he would leak the secret. Lowering her head, Miss Su answers that she firmly believes in young Master Gu's character. Master Gu doesn't believe an obvious lie. He then suddenly stands up, and as his back was turned to her he blandly stated that he will act as if he haven't heard anything about you possessing a rare constitution, and says to Su Chinga, if she were trying to move him by telling him that, then she should return home. Miss Su, dumbfounded by his words, had shock written all over her elegant face. As Master Gu was about to leave, she then tried to go after him because of his riz. but Master Gu only slapped her hands and advised her to have some self-respect. Miss Su, completely shocked, couldn't find any words to answer back, and just stared the back of Master Gu as he was walking away. And her other souls couldn't do anything but laugh and says that even a beauty who was sent right to his doorsteps could not pique his interest. As she thoughts, this Master Gu really is a mysterious man. Miss Su sighed, as she thoughts to herself, if she thinks about it carefully, young Master Gu didn't even do anything wrong in the Great Hall today, but she preconceived him to be the bad guy anyway, and questions if she was wrong about him. System interface pop-up stating Miss Su has changed her views. Fortune value increased by 20, and fate value increased by 100. As Su Qingji having a character development, Master Gu decides he should go visit and get a harvest from Yichen himself. In a change of scene inside the underground jail, Master Gu met up Ming Lao, and as he reported on what he discovered from spying on Yichen. As Master Gu was standing in front of Yichen's prison cell, Yichen was startled that he met the person he abhorred and was most reluctant to see the most. Then Yichen questioned loudly on what is Master Gu here for. Master Gu casually directly pointed out Yichen's secret, and answers that he came here to pay respects to Yichen's master who is backing him. As Yichen's heart skipped a beat, his nervousness was obviously reflected on his face, and Yichen acts like he doesn't know what Master Gu meant. Master Gu scoffed and orders Yichen to stop pretending, and that he cannot fool anyone with that expression on his face. As Master Gu asks, while his eyes fixated at the ring on Yichen's finger, on how long is the senior going to keep hiding, and that isn't very becoming of a master. At that moment, a sigh could be heard from Yichen's ring. The voice was angelic, but with an underlying helplessness. Yan Ji answers that she didn't plan to become enemy of young Master Gu, so there's no reason to come and put a remnant soul like her in such a difficult position. Accordingly, before their eyes flashed a crimson glow and an ordinary figure in red surged in the air. Yichen was dumbfounded at his master's volitional appearance, and he couldn't help but feel distressed. Master Gu had assumed the master would be an old man, but it was actually a stunning woman in red with a pair of crimson eyes and delicate face. Then Master Gu stated that she misunderstood him, and that he was just curious as to which omnipotent being was able to guide an idiotic trash like Yichen to such heights. Then Yichen shouted angrily, asking who is Master Gu calling trash. Master Gu ignored Yichen as he continued and says that Yan Jin is wasting her talents staying with Yichen. Yan Ji revealed a scowl as she realized Master Gu's true intention. At that moment Yan Jin thinks that Master Gu is trying to challenge her relationship with Yichen. Nevertheless, her being able to figure it out did not mean Yichen could. Ultimately, it was as Master Gu said, he was a fool indeed. Yichen shouts at Master Gu for trying to take away his master from him too, just like Miss Su. Master Gu softly snickered and states that he didn't steal Chinga, and he was not the one to blame for that, and Yichen should know that from the very start, and that she did everything of her own accord. But Yichen would not believe him. Master Gu then touched the bar of the prison cell. He shattered it to 1,000,000 pieces, shocking Yichen and Yan Ji. Master Gu then asks Yichen that if he really wants the best for his master, that he should not hold her back, and asks again if he really think that a remnant soul could remain in this world for long, as he walks inside the cell. Then Master Gu wholeheartedly asks Yan Ji if she is willing to follow him, and states not only he can help her regain a physical body, but he can also even help her return to the peak of her prime, completely disregarding Yichen's presence, as if he were sternly recruiting talent. Yichen clenched his fist, and shouts at Master Gu again. Suddenly, the system indicated that Yichen's mental state has been continually damaged. His fortune value has decreased by 20, and the host's fate value has increased by 100. At that moment it was a success for Master Gu. Then Master Gu states to Yan Ji that she must already know, he's still way more outstanding than Yichen in all other aspects, and judging by their current progress of nourishing her soul, Yichen is more of a confinement for her. As Master Gu says this, Yichen is making a face that is hard to describe, and tries to convince his master not to listen to Master Gu. In that instant, Yan Ji was still unable to comprehend Master Gu's real intention as her brows remained strained, thinking on why is Master Gu doing this, cause if he wanted to he can kill Yichen easily, or if Master Gu is really just trying to get her to join him. But still Yan Ji refused Master Gu's proposal, and says that Yichen was the one who saved her from her demise, so naturally she would not leave him now. As hearing this, Yichen's face lit up. Master Gu decides that he will give her some time to think it through, and if she changes her mind, he will look past Yichen's past offenses and let him go, and even having the Taishan sacred land retracts Yichen's punishment and restore him to his former position would not be impossible, and he could even give back Miss Su to Yichen. At once, Yichen was frustrated as he was struggling to suppress his emotions, and stopped talking, and just coldly glaring at Master Gu. Yan Ji on the other hand never expected such words to come out from Master Gu's mouth as she acknowledged his earnesty. Yan Ji asks Master Gu to please stop, cause she appreciate his earnesty. After all, Master Gu did not come for this act unprepared, so before he leaves he presents something to her, subtly grinned as he slowly pulled out an item from his chest. A box glowing with power containing the ancient soul-repairing sacred medicine, the mind convergence pill, and before Yan Ji could turn it down, he was already out of the prison. Yichen still angry at his master forming a compromise with his sworn enemy over a single pill. Yan Jin was angered and asking him what's he talking about, and everything she did was to help him get out this place. Yichen then yells that if she's doing that all for him then she should do what he says and leak the information he wants to spread. Yan Jin only could internally sigh as disappointment surged in her heart. She never expected Yichen to utter such words, and with a disappointed look, she goes on to do what Yichen ordered. System interface again pops up, stating an estrangement is now in effect. A crack has formed in the relationship between Yichen and his master. Yichen's fortune value has decreased by 80, and the host's fate value has increased by 400. Meanwhile in Master Gu's room, Ming Lao asks him if all he really needed was only that remnant soul. Why didn't he just kill Yichen? Master Gu reminded Ming Lao why they descended in the lower realm. That is, they came for the 8 Baron Demon Halberd, the weapon of 8 Baron Demon God of the ancient times. If Master Gu assumed right, and follows the regular plot line, Yichen will probably accidentally enter an ancient ruin due to his luck, gain the evil weapon's approval at the last second, and then he would completely turn the tables against Taishian. But now, Yichen can only be Master Gu's treasure-seeking rat. Then Master Gu ordered Ming Lao to keep a close eye on Yichen, and Master Gu will be in seclusion for now. Master Gu called upon the system interface and opened the system shop. Master Gu analyzed as he was navigating the system shop. Swiftly, Master Gu shifted his concentration to the offers in the system shop. As he expected, the offered items were classified into 3 main categories: the system shop containing 3 tabs, divine talents, art techniques, and supporting items. Seeing the second category, he immediately swiped on it. Speedily, he acquired the primordial spirit technique. In a flash, a refreshing sensation flashed across him. He could hear a terrifying roar in his mind as a chaotic aura surged. With that, otherworldly sounds echoed as golden beams radiated. His body was accordingly surrounded by a surreal aura. It was an extraordinary sight. 3 days passed by. Numerous daunting figures were outside of the Taishuan sacred land from all directions, be it in flying boats, enchanted carriages, or riding on beasts. All of the forces appeared immensely menacing. The frightening forces came from different places. The Archbishop states on what spectacle it is that the 3 of such superior caliber, who are only steps away from Sacred Emperor Realm to personally lead their forces here. The 3 Lord are present because they heard that the Supreme Lord Su is dead and they are here for the dragon veins. The Archbishop shout angrily that the spiritual veins have been the foundation of his sacred land for thousands of years. How can they be handed over just like that? And telling them what a bunch of hypocritical old fools they are, and ask them if do they really thinks that his Taishian sacred land is an easy target. And even if he does not know where they got the news from, do they really believe that without the Supreme Elder, that his Taishian sacred land has no one else to rely on? Miss Su know that his father was talking about Master Gu, so she was reluctant to say what happened to her with him last time. But the Archbishop asks Miss Su if Master Gu has came out of his seclusion. Miss Su is now left with no choice but to be a bearer of bad news to her father and tells him on what happened between her and Master Gu, and that she lost favor with him and is not sure if he would be willing to help them out. This news came in shock for the Archbishop. But Chi Wuji hastily dismissed that, saying that the upper realms have been cut off from the sacred lands of eastern wilderness for so long, and doubts Su Taishuan to have Su ability, and he is confident, because he has with him his great son Empire's limitless tower, and even if a person of the sacred emperor realms come forth, he can easily take them on. As he was about to finish, his sentence he activated it for everyone to see, as light illuminates the sky. The other lord were in shock to see an imperial artifact. They were thinking it was destroyed long ago during the 1000-Year War. As Miss Su sees this, she notifies her father that she will go get Master Gu and beg him to help them. When Chi Wuji was about to attack, a sudden burst of energy wave was felt by everyone present near the Taishian sacred realm, leaving everyone in shock and afraid. Even the flying beasts reacted. The 3 lords even thought it was the Supreme Elder Su, except for the Archbishop. He reacted differently as he was happy because he knew that it was Master Gu's aura. We are brought back to Master Gu exhaling after his breakthrough, and he noticed that everyone is already present, as he smiled mincingly and decides to start the show and make his entrance. But before that happened, we are brought back to where Su Qing is located. traveling as fast as she can to go to Master Gu, but suddenly someone grabbed her, later revealed to be Yi-Chen. Miss Su asks Yi-Chen on what he is doing there, but Yi-Chen answers that he will try and explain later and that they must get out of there. Miss Su lets go of Yi-Chen's hands and says to him that she will never leave Taishien's sacred land. Shock was drawn on Yi-Chen's face, and asking why is Miss Su being stubborn at a time like this, and does she really believe Master Gu can save Taishien's sacred land all by himself? Confusion and disbelief filled Yi-Chen's mind as his eyes starts to become red in anger, asking Miss Su if she was forced to do this. Su Qing replied loudly and asks Yi-Chen to shut up, and clarifies to Yi-Chen that young Master Gu never forced her to do anything, and she was the one harboring ill intentions and was trying to get on his good side all this time. She even tried to sell her looks in exchange for peace on Taishien's sacred land. This statement broke Yi-Chen and was stunned and can't find words to say. As Miss Su continues and asks Yi-Chen if he will be satisfied when Yi-Chen's done taking all her dignity from herself, and asks Yi-Chen again on what makes him think that she'll betray the sect and leave with him, and what right does he have to assume that young Master Gu is the villain here. Miss Su asks Yi-Chen if he even thought of helping at a time like this, and says to Yi-Chen that his ego and selfishness disgusts her. Yi-Chen, still in denial, was muttering to himself that is not possible. This is not the Qing that he knew, and thinks Master Gu must have used some kind of spell on her. As this was happening outside, a system interface pops up on top of Master Gu's head, stating female lead has turned her back on Yi-Chen. His fortune points have decreased by 50 while the host's fate points have increased by 250. Miss Su noticed that Master Gu was about to come out of his room. She thought to herself that it was bad for her to be seen together with Yi-Chen by Master Gu, so she grits her teeth and stabs Yi-Chen. Yi-Chen stunned and was shocked. Miss Su says to Yi-Chen that she's sorry, and that she have to cut ties with him. Yi-Chen steps back and fire aura came out from his wounds while glaring at Miss Su and saying that it cleared to him now, and tells her that they will meet again in the future, as he steps back and run away. Then Miss Su was startled to hear Master Gu's voice calling out to her. Miss Su turned to Master Gu with a serene expression and says that she let him down. Master Gu, visibly joyous, says that she did a great job, reminds her that she will have to fight Yi-Chen to the death the next time they meet, and asks her if she won't regret this. Miss Su answers that she won't, and she knew this day would come sooner or later when she chose Master Gu. Master Gu then pulled her into his embrace, and saying to her that from now on she can share her woes with him. Hearing those words, Miss Su dropped the sword she was holding, as she flickered her jade-like eyes. It was her first time being so close to a man, especially when an apathetic, fear-striking man like Master Gu said such comforting words. She could not help but feel flustered. While Master Gu is thinking to himself that since Miss Su has decided to end things with Yi-Chen, so he does not have to keep his distance anymore, and after all, she is blessed with great fortune, and if she can prove herself to be useful to him. The system pops up and states that a fortunate incident has been triggered. The host's fortune points have been increased by 60, while the fate points have increased by 300. Because of this, Master Gu realized something new, and that he can also gain fortune points by subjugating people blessed with great fortune besides targeting fortunes chosen, and it looks like he's going to have another way of leveling up. As we are brought back to the scene where the elders are at a stare down, asking the Archbishop on what was that fluctuation that they had felt. If it wasn't the Supreme Elder, then who could it be? While Xiao Zhou forced their way in, a sudden loud voice could be heard echoing from afar telling them to shut up, alerting the three lords about his presence. Appearing in swiftly in front of the Archbishop, Master Gu finally is in the center stage, and insults the three lord. Xiao Zhu laughs and calls Master Gu a brat and underestimates him. The Archbishop advises not to do that, but still he decides to throw himself at him. But Master Gu blocks his attack with ease, and twists his hands and pushed him back, leaving the three lords shocked. So the three of them decided to attack at the same time. As he blocks the two lords' attacks, the other one activates his treasure, and traps Master Gu in it. As the three lords were celebrating, the treasure revealed a crack and breaks. Just with the flick of his hand, Master Gu kills all the allies of the three lord, shocking not only his enemies but also his allies. Before the three lords' demise, they asked one final question on who is he. Then Gu Cheng answers that he is an immortal hailing from the upper realm, and defeats them. Half a month later, in the suburbs of Zhongzhou, legends about Master Gu spreads throughout the place, and also Yachen's foolishness was being spread around. Yachen heard this, so he burns the ones who insults him, while talking to himself that he will return this humiliation that he felt 100 times over to the Taishian sacred land. In a change of scene inside the Grand Hall, the three lords of the sacred land praised Master Gu for sparing them. Miss Su couldn't help herself but laugh at them for acting like a child. Master Gu says that if she enjoys that, then they can have them acted out a few more times. But before she could respond, an invitation came up from the Xia dynasty by the third royal prince. inviting prominent sons of various places the meeting to discuss political affairs. As Master Gu is in thought, he is thinking about the mark that he left on the pill which he gave to Ng. And so he decided to make arrangements, and in 3 days they will depart. Elder Ming Lao this revealed to be from Zhengzhou. So Master Gu told him the good news and that he may visit his family, which Ming Lao appreciate that very much. 3 days has passed. We are in a scene inside an academy in Zhengzhou. A teacher was discussing a lesson to her students and one of them was sleeping is named Lin Tian. This action has caught the attention of the teacher. As the teacher was scolding, Lin Tian, still in the middle of a sleep, burst out of his chair shouting some gibberish, calling himself a king. The other students laugh at him, but Lin Tian, still confused, and asks them who are they and where is this place. A student, while insulting him, answered where he is and who he is in a sarcastic tone. Then it was revealed to us that he was the Heaven Destroyer Divine King and his remnant soul to control over this child's body. At the same time that this happens, a flying boat appeared in the sky and Master Gu was on it. The system interface popped up notifying Master Gu that a new Fortune's Chosen has been detected, and he's coming for him. In the previous chapter, a man named Lin Tian suddenly woke up from his dream, and it turns out he was possessed by the Heaven Destroyer Divine King, while Master Gu and his companions is coming to Zhangzhou. Now onto the chapter. As they were nearing to descend, Master Gu now knows the fortune value of each and is now only at 230, and now he was informed about the system backlash. As host's fortune value increases, the backlash will also gradually decrease. He now realizes an unknown variable has made it difficult for the heavens to protect the chosen one. As Miss Su appeared, he noticed that her fortune value increased and concludes that she has still secrets that he has yet to uncover. He inquired her about the central power here, so she explained it. As this was happening, the talk of the Lin family's ancestors returning from the lower realm to visit was the talk of the town. Even Yichin heard it. Yichin even considered to hide there, but he has plans to find the treasure. Then Master Gu and his companions arrives and was welcomed by the Lin family. While the Lin family was wondering the identity of the young man who is highly regarded by their ancestor, so they concluded that he is the most important guest they cannot afford to mess with. Master Gu then asks Ming Lao to enjoy his time here as he has plans to have a look around with Miss Su. Before the Lin family could even finish saying the word farewell, Master Gu have walked past them, showing them his powers. The head of the family offered Qihan as a guide to escort their esteemed guest, so she accepted in a hurry and introduces herself to Master Gu. As Master Gu compliments her about her name being good while looking at her assets of 200 fortune value. While this happened, Lin Tian saw this on the side, and suddenly felt pain from his heart. Lin Tian concluded that the old owner of the body was a cis-con, infatuated with his own sister. No one could blame him though. Then Lin Tian noticed Miss Su's beauty physique. He was excited to see the assets in front of him. He can now able to cure his heart sickness. Lin Tian could only envy the luck of Master Gu for having such treasures. As Master Gu noticed his glare towards him and looking at his fortune value of 500, however, he also noticed the ill intentions towards him, even though he hasn't done anything yet to him. So he believes it must be because of his sister and that he is a total weirdo. Master Gu decides to let him live a little longer. As they were strolling, Qihan was telling stories about her brother on how he was useless then but is now responsible and recently started cultivating seriously. He suddenly made a breakthrough in his cultivation, also displayed a great talent for medicine and formation. He even pointed out an elder's mistake once. Then Master Gu consoles her about the fact that he changed was because she was successful in persuading him, even though she was harsh. Her intention were genuine. Qihan then appreciates that she was understood easily, as she continues to be amazed how Lin Tian has changed. Master Gu gaslighted her, asking on how could he refine pills if he hadn't breakthrough before, and inquires if they have some lost ancient technique that she taught him. Then something in Qihan clicks and was now a little suspicious about her brother's sudden change, as Master Gu successfully planted a seed of doubt in her. The system interface popped up notifying Master Gu of the rules and clearing the fortune's value of the chosen one. By killing the fortune's chosen after their fortune value has been cleared, the hosts can receive additional heavenly reward from the system. Therefore Master Gu sets aside Yichen for now to harvest Lin Tian. Later at night, Qihan personally made spirit cakes for Master Gu and personally delivered it to him, but Miss Su receives it, so Qihan leaves as to not disturb them. As she was leaving, Miss Su could only think of how good Master Gu's riz was making Qihan fall in love with him, meeting her just once, while Master Gu was suddenly behind her and asks if she was jealous. which Miss Su replies that he has a mysterious riz in him, that's why if he wants, he's free to keep Ki-han by his side. In a change of scene, as Lady Lin was going home, Lin Tian was waiting for her at the corner, and tells her to stay away from Master Gu. She retaliates and says to him that Master Gu is humble, polite and warm-hearted, and that he is a good person, but he on the other hand has nothing, and if he is even a fraction of Master Gu she wouldn't even have to worry. So Lin Tian called her stupid. Therefore she walked away. As she was walking she was noticing the changes in Lin Tian, and concluded two things: if he has guidance from an expert or the other. System interface pops up informing Master Gu about the sudden change in character of Lin Ki-han and is now suspicious of him. Lin Tian decreased 50 fortune value and host's fortune value increased by 250. Everything is as according to Master Gu's plans. So, he concludes that Lin Tian will attack him sooner than later. We then follow Lin Tian preparing to attack Master Gu using various kinds of things and sacrifice 15 years of his own life, as he cast Heavenly Demon Outlaw Curse Guide. The attack was heading directly at Master Gu's location. Master Gu could already sense it a mile away and identifies what skill it is. This was received by Master Gu as more of an insult than an attack, so he casts his skill S to block it, blocking it easily and breaking the curse for everyone in the Lin family to see, and it backfired at Lin Tian, leaving him crippled, unable to even stand, while Master Gu was able to strengthen his soul and increase his lifespan. The system notifies him that Lin Tian's lifespan has decreased significantly. His fortune value have decreased by 150, while host's fate value increased by 750. While Master Gu was smiling that he had received a gift without even doing anything, therefore he concludes that Lin Tian is really good at screwing things up for himself. As people was outside Master Gu's abode asking for forgiveness for what happened. Therefore the clan elders decides to gather everyone in the Lin family to look for the culprit immediately to redeem themselves, which Master Gu knows what Lin Tian's state is, as he was enjoying it. As they gather the members, Ki-han was knocking at the door and asking for Lin Tian to come out. As Lin Tian heard this, he knows he's screwed and they would know that it was him who casted the curse. Therefore he decides to fake his death to lay low until everything is over, then revive himself using forbidden soul arts. So, he stopped his heart. After that everyone is gathered to report to Master Gu on what happened, and Lin Tian is dead already. While they were asking forgiveness, Master Gu noticed that the system didn't notify him of Lin Tian's death. Thus he concluded that he was faking it. As this was happening, the other soul of Miss Su is enjoying the power Master Gu holds. Then a system interface appeared notifying him that because Lin Tian has been rejected by his entire Lin family, his fortune value has decreased by 100 while the host's fate value increased by 500. Because of this, Master Gu concludes that he has no other choice and will be bound to Ki-han. As the elders awaits for their punishment, Master Gu says to them that Lin Tian's action was strange and that he may be in fact have different soul in the same body. Therefore, he states that he's not unreasonable to blame on those completely unrelated to the matter and to let this matter pass for the sake of Ming Lao. So they thanked him. Before they left, Master Gu asks them not cremate Lin Tian's body. Master Gu then asked Ki-han for a stroll during the next few days. She accepts while he was wondering if his fate value will increase if a woman related to the fortunes chosen willingly submits herself to him, and if the fortune value would gradually increase along with his, or that is only unique to Miss Su. 3 months later, everyone that is anyone are coming to visit Zhongzhou, and we can see the young masters from the 8 cities are exchanging praises. Then Jin Yang boasts about his little brother, that he met and exchanged 100 blows with him. He also added that he was framed. The others were intrigued, so they asks for his name, but before he could answer, Master Gu appeared with the most beautiful women available out there. Afterwards, Master Gu, Ki-han was amazed by this and imagined what it's like to go there. So Master Gu invites her, but Ki-han hesitates because of what Lin Tian did. Then Master Gu suggested if she still feels guilty, then there is something that she can help him do, and that is to watch over her brother's corpse and explain to her that he may try to resurrect. This shocked Ki-han, as this was planned by Master Gu. After she sees him resurrect, then their concern for each other should end. Thus Lin Tian's fortune value will drop to 0, so there will be no point in keeping him alive. After that, the servant informed him that the disciples of 8 cities had come to greet him. Therefore he let them in. After that, Kihan was standing beside Master Gu. She noticed how indifferent he is to the disciple even if they were giving praise and showing their assets. Kihan compared it to how Master Gu treats her. She felt special, thus it moved her. A system quest interface appeared telling the hosts to subdue Kihan to obtain 200 fortune value and 1000 fate value. Thus, Master Gu opened the system shop and decides to nurture Kihan by buying a beginner's alchemy manual for her. Then another sudden quest has been triggered notifying him that someone related to the fortunes chosen was near and to suppress the fortune chosen's sworn brother. He concludes that it was Yichen rather than Lin Tian. So he asks them if they have any news of Yichen. Then the other dude with Jin Yang before snitched on him. So Master Gu asks him, but he denies. Then a sudden burst of energy flooded the place, terrifying everyone. So Master Gu asks him again, therefore he replied that he has a sworn brother named Yichen. Master Gu asks Yichen's whereabouts, but Jin Yang wasn't a snitch, so instead of answering he questioned Master Gu if he may misunderstanding Yichen. Then a sudden force made Jin Yang kneel. Then his guard asked for forgiveness on behalf of Jin Yang, but Master Gu called Ming Lao in order to eradicate the Jialu sacred lands' existence. Miss Su and Kihan saw the side of Master Gu that is indifferent to others. Because of that he completed the sudden quest perfectly. Thus he attained 40% additional rewards, increasing his fate value by 700. Meanwhile the Jialu sacred land meets their end. We now follow Yichen while he looks at the broken pendant, informing him that his sworn brother is dead. After that, Master Gu and his companions are walking outside. He then asks Kihan if he scared her, which she replies that she was. But she understood that Master Gu was kind to her. But still, as an apology, Master Gu gave her the textbook. Miss Su also says out loud that she was also scared, but Master Gu ignores her. Meanwhile, inside the jail, Lin Tian revived. At the same time, he was thinking that he has a chance to settle the score with Master Gu, but he never expected that it was this soon, as shock can be seen on his face as Master Gu appeared with Kihan. Therefore he acts like he doesn't know anything, but Master Gu thinks that his acting is a little over the top. Just as he was spouting lies with terrible acting, Kihan couldn't be convinced, as she cried her heart out asking where's her real brother is. The real soul of Lin Tian took over and fights the other soul in his body. Then as a last word to her sister, asking her to kill him. As it happened, the fortune value of Lin Tian was decreased by 200 while the host's fate value has increased by 1000, leaving Lin Tian with 0 fortune. Thus a kill drop has activated. Kihan was shocked and in disbelief of what happened to her brother. Master Gu then says to her that he knows she can't kill Lin Tian, so he asks her to leave and be the villain for her. After she left, Master Gu says to Lin Tian that he knows he was faking death just to see Lin Tian's reaction. Then he shows his true colors, as he filled the room with a suppressing aura. And right in that instance Lin Tian was killed, so Master Gu absorbed the remnant soul of a divine king master, and it also strengthened his spirit so much. Then he gets his reward along with a bonus of 150 fortune value and 500 fate value. The first kill chest, heavenly reward chest, and now he can convert fortune value to fate value. The rate is 1 fortune value to 10 fate value. So, he opened the chest, obtaining 3 fortune plundering talisman, 1 broken third of the world seed, 1 system reward crit talisman. Fortune plundering talisman, it can be used to plunder the fortunes chosen. The failure rate is based on the fortunes chosen's current condition. If the plundering is successful, the fortunes chosen's fortune value will decrease to 0, while the hosts will obtain the corresponding fortune value. System reward crit talisman. When receiving system rewards, random critical hit rewards may be multiplied by 1, 10, or even by 100. So Master Gu decides to use the talisman when he kills Yichen. But as for plundering, it is a rare item that can be found at the system shop that is worth 10,000 fate value. That means he has to plunder someone with more than 2,000 fortune value for the item to be profitable. And with this item he concludes that he will encounter a fortunes chosen that is quite a hefty sum of fortune. Then he opened the heavenly reward chest. He obtained 1 chosen's aura band that automatically transformed to a fated villain's aura band, and 1 supreme heart. Fated villain aura band. The difference in fortune's value will be disregarded when harvesting fortunes chosen. meaning he can kill them without dealing with a backlash. But Master Gu plans not to do that because it will result in missing opportunities and miss out on taking more out of the fortunes chosen. The Supreme Heart, containing tens of thousands of years of cultivation from Taoist cultivator in the Supreme Realm. So, Master Gu fused with it, and consumed 3,000 fate value to increase the level of Immortal Taoist code by 1. After this he left the jail. Waiting for him outside was Kihan. Master Gu then tries to comfort her and asks to bury her young brother in hopes he can reincarnate. In a change of scene, a group of people coming from the upper realm were talking about Master Gu. As it turns out, their boss is Lily, a cousin of Yichen, and they plan to defeat Master Gu. So they went over to the Lin family, causing the sky to be covered with storm clouds, and demand for Master Gu to come out. As the demon guy comes over to the elder of Lin family to threaten him, a light coming from the sky illuminates the land. Suddenly a huge finger appeared and defiles the demon guy's existence, leaving nothing but dust.